Welcome back, I'm Tedward, and welcome to the all-new 2026 Honda Prelude. We're out here in beautiful Southern California, enjoying the roads and the weather because it's very cold back home, and I'm thrilled to finally get my hands on this Prelude because it has been much anticipated, and there's been a lot of press and talk on the forums about what this car is, what it should be, what it shouldn't be, but today we're driving it to find out what it is. This two-door, four-seater Grand Touring Coupe has 200 horsepower, 232 pound-feet of torque. It's a hybrid system that we would find in the Civic Hybrid, the CR-V Hybrid. So we're familiar with this powertrain. It powers the front wheels, and there is no transmission to speak of. There is no CVT, but the real headliner on this car is its chassis and suspension. Oh, not to mention these brakes, because you can bemoan a hybrid sports coupe all you'd like. However, this has the Type R suspension and Type R brakes. So 13.8-inch rotors up front with a 4-pot big Brembo braking setup, and that makes for a lovely handling vehicle. Now, Honda is not a company of superlatives. We almost never get the most thing from Honda. They're often not touting some big number or some outrageous 0 to 60. No, they are usually well-rounded packages, which typically causes some consternation because speculatively they'll say, well, it's not enough. So let's start on the exterior. The silhouette is meant to be inspired by a glider. It's designed to slip through the air. And in fact, they even removed the traditional door handle and they put in these guys, which retract. Typically not my favorite thing in the world, but they actually work well, and I'm okay with that because they do pop out when you need them to. Sick. The only thing is that the front of this car does look a lot like another very popular Japanese hybrid. So make of that what you will, but I think it looks like it's smiling. It's a happy car. And it's kind of interesting because they put this center line down the middle with this blue guy right there. Now, every Prelude is one trim level, so you just get a Prelude. That's all it is. You can add accessories like a spoiler or different wheels and things like that, but what's nice is you're not looking through trim levels, and that trim level starts at $42,000. Hold your applause because I know a lot of people aren't thrilled about that, but it is more expensive than a Civic Si and less expensive than a Type R. But I like that it actually has this cool double bubble roof. The only problem is that it doesn't have the power moonroof that even the original Prelude had. But that's okay because I'm always a fan of a slick top. Around back, we get this sleek style tail and no exhaust pipes to speak of. They are hidden, so that's what you get, but that's where you see the center line flow all the way back to here. Kind of looks like an F1 inspired light, but it's blue, not red. This is the first lift back Prelude. So you get this big hatch, which is lovely. You can fold down these rear seats. I've got my backpack back here right now. And what I don't know is if I could actually fit my bicycle in here without removing a wheel. My Civic Type R has such a vast space, and it's a lot taller because it's not as sleek and sloped as this is. So this definitely is going to compromise some of the space that you would expect out of your Civic hatch. But if you don't need the space of a Civic hatch, the Prelude is still going to have a lot of ability to load you up. Look at this dude dragging a knee. Love to see it. Everybody has the best time out here. I like car culture in California. Under here, there's no spare tire, which is a bummer. Bring back spare tires. That's a message to all of our friends in the auto industry. And then let's get under the hood, because this is probably the most controversial part of the car. People wanted a manual. People wanted a 2-liter turbo. They wanted a 2-door Type R, and they were not given that. Under the hood, this is our very familiar 2-motor hybrid setup. So we have a 2-liter Atkinson-cycle 4-cylinder. That powers a generator, one of the motors, which then in turn charges the battery, which the second motor retrieves energy from that battery to drive the wheels. Most of the time, this is always driving on electric power. However, in certain scenarios, at certain speeds, there is the ability for a clutch to connect this engine directly to the wheels when it's most efficient, and then you have an internal combustion engine driving the front wheels. But most of the time, that is not the case. There is no Transmission to speak of. It does not have a CVT. It has an e-CVT, but they don't actually even use that nomenclature for this car in the products that I've seen and the materials. But because there's no transmission, they wanted to simulate a transmission because they wanted this to still be an enthusiast car. And I was very skeptical, but when we get out and drive, I'm going to show you how this S Plus system works. There's paddle shifters. It's basically simulating an 8-speed gearbox. Gluing us to the road on a 19-inch wheel is a 235 section tire all around. And for reference, the Civic Type R uses a 265 section tire, so that just gives you an idea. And inside, the Prelude does feel superior to a Civic in terms of its seating and its upholstery. It looks really nice. You've got these heated buckets, and these are different on each side. They're actually asymmetrical. So the bottom of the seats are different on the passenger side and the driver's side. So the passenger side is a little more relaxed for comfort. The driver's side is a little more set up to hold you in place. I would have to spend some seat time in the passenger seat to understand how that feels. And then in the back, you do have seats back there. They're probably not the most comfortable. It is a 4-seater. And let's actually get back there and just see, because there may not be a ton of headroom with this sloping hatchback. Yeah, I would not want to spend any time back here. This is not a seat that you want to... I'm crouched back here, and I'm not very big. I'm only 5'9", so this is not great. That's just to get your drunk friend home from the bar if you had to. But you didn't come here to hear about specs. All you've been doing is hearing about specs in this car. All that matters is how it drives. Does it live up to the Prelude name? And what is a Prelude? I mean, the Prelude was always just kind of like a fancy... Ooh, I got in the back seat, so we gotta roll this back. But the Prelude was always kind of a GT car. It was an executive's version of an Accord or something. It was elevated. It had technology that other cars didn't. 4-wheel steering we saw introduced. We had VTEC in the final generation and the later versions of the 4th generation. But anyway, none of it matters. Let's get out and drive. Silent. You can't rev it. You can't rev it. Now we do have wireless charging, but I always like to connect my phone just for ease and not to overheat my phone. And then down here, our transmission controls are like the old NSX style. And there we are into drive. I'm actually going to put the windows down for the first minute because I want to make sure that the motorcycle is not coming back down the hill. So when you get into the Prelude, the first thing you're going to notice is this thicker steering wheel than you would normally get on a Civic, followed by these lovely aluminum paddle shifters. And they are actually kind of paddle shifters because they do more than just the regen. You also get this suede 12 o'clock position, which is nice, and a bit of a flat bottom wheel. I don't love this plastic material, but that's fine. We're in a Honda, we're not in a Bentley. And this is the thing. When you are in drive, this controls your regen. You get 7 stages of regen. When you hit S+, it becomes the transmission of the 8-speed. So let's get out and drive. Let's start out in sport mode. I've got some things that might knock around. We'll figure that out along the way, but let's just get a taste of it immediately. Off the line. Very smooth power delivery, and that's just in its normal mode. We'll put it in S+. When I say normal, I mean for the transmission, the simulated transmission. But now it's going to simulate an 8-speed gearbox, and I've got these nice aluminum paddles. It'll start to hold the revs for me a little bit, which feels natural. I don't think I've had this much fun in a hybrid outside of a Porsche 911 GTS. We just want to make sure we have line of sight over this hill before we, there we go. Okay, we're good. We don't want any head-on collisions in the new Prelude. We don't want to test the safety features. Yeah, this is fun. This is like genuine entertainment. I'm kind of impressed. Yes, the power is not that of a Type R. It's 100 horsepower down on that, but the delivery is smooth and incredible. And I did not expect to care at all about the fake transmission, but it's more than just a simulation to appease the enthusiast who wants to shift their own gears. It's actually helping me stay connected to the car, and I'm like embarrassed that I feel that way, because it shouldn't matter. But this somehow all makes sense. It's not just a silly party trick. And yeah, you know, maybe the water bottles are helping illustrate G-forces. I'm sure you're like, no, please move those. Put them somewhere quieter. I will do that in a minute when I find a safe place to pull off. I think everyone's wrong about Prelude. It's not Razor's Edge either. It has GT vibes. It feels every bit as capable on the highway, just doing the morning commute, as it does ripping around these roads. I'm so glad I'm not on record judging this car in any way before I drove it. I've seen so many articles, we've got to be careful of cyclists. I've seen so many articles of people complaining about what this car's purpose is, what it's supposed to be, why didn't it get it a manual, why doesn't it have a 2-liter turbo, and all this stuff. But like, this is fun. They made a fun car. We've got Type R brakes, which are super welcome right now. I can kind of smell them. I should probably turn traction off, honestly, just because I'm sure that the rears are working harder than they need to. This car is not fast on throttle. I'm gonna give it that. I need to make sure that we're communicating that information properly. However, it gives you the opportunity to consistently stay in power and just really exercise this chassis in a way that oh my goodness. Like, I would rather be the guy keeping up with the Porsche in the Prelude than the Porsche trying to keep up with the Prelude. You know what I mean? It's got a little bit of that slow car fast thing, but it's just tuned so nicely. And I haven't thought really about a manual right now. I haven't thought, oh, I wish I was rowing my own gears. I do love driving a manual, but like, if this is my daily driver, hey, little Miata guy, if this is my daily driver, sometimes that is a pain in the butt. And I think the Civic hatch and the Civic sedan, those hybrids, are so good. They're so good. They're so nice to drive. And this is now combining like the two things I like about Civics the most, which is that hybrid powertrain being a relaxing endeavor for daily commuting, and the chassis and suspension and brakes of my Type R. So yes, as the enthusiast, I still got to choose Type R every day, but not everybody is that guy. Not everybody wants that kind of harsh ride and setup, you know. This is really wild. That car's getting really expensive too. Everyone's complaining about the price of this Civic Type R, 48 G's now. Come on. doing little downshifts for me. That's adorable. I can't believe I don't hate this S Plus thing. I thought I was going to touch it and play with it and complain about it and immediately turn it off. That is not the case. All right, let's go into comfort mode, because the nice thing about this, like I talked about in the intro, is that this suspension is variable, but it's variable in a way that everything is already below the comfort level of a Civic Type R. So if you think the Civic is too harsh, or maybe you opted for a Type S because the Civic was too harsh, this is even below that. So this gives you this great opportunity to have, oh, look at this, we're just regenning. And actually, let me turn off this, and we'll use the regen. There's 7 stages of regen, and it really gives you some proper braking, which is nice. The Miata's cooking, baby! Oh, we found a friend. You'll love to see it. Dude, this little package actually kind of does a lot of stuff. Too many gears, though. That really should be a 6-speed, not an 8-speed. But you know what? I bet there's a way to tune that. I bet in the aftermarket there will be like a Prelude transmission swap where you can turn it into a 5 or a 6-speed, which that would actually be kind of cool. So I drove out here on the freeway. I was getting about 40 miles per gallon, and then I just did that, and I've had my foot really in it because it's not that fast, so it's a foot in it kind of car, and we're still getting 30 mpgs. I still have 348 miles on this tank, and I've done probably, it says 36 miles, I forgot to reset it earlier, so I've probably done 40 miles, and I still have more range after like 40 miles than I do when I fill my Civic Type R. Let's see if we can meet our Miata friend here. That's great. He's living his best life in his Miata. He's having the best time. But this checks a lot of boxes because it's efficient. It's not so fast in a straight line that a quick squirt is going to get you in trouble with the authorities. But it is a dynamically magical little beast. And it's got the brakes to back it up. The way they set up this suspension is softer than the Type R and stiffer than the regular Civic. So even when you're in the most hardcore mode, in sport mode, which is the stiffest mode in the suspension, you are still softer than the comfort mode in the Honda Civic Type R, the FL5. I think a lot of people are just wondering that for $42,000, does the Prelude have the athletic chops that it should with only 200 horsepower? And in typical Honda fashion, they're not trying to wow you with a number, but they will wow you with the driving experience. This is a really lovely place to be. This is a really fun car to drive, despite not having 300 horsepower. Manages to really just find where the power needs to go either side, which is a historically important part of the super handling heritage of the Prelude, because in the final iteration we got the Type SH, which had ATTS, A little bit of sand. Best sign in the world. So I owned an SI, and I loved my SI. The SI is limited, but the joy of the SI is rowing this 6-speed manual gearbox. It's a lovely thing to do. The 1.5 liter turbo is fine. It's not my favorite because it's not quite the most responsive thing in the world, but the Type R solved that problem. It gave me more juice, but more importantly, it gave it more performance chops. The SI is a fun car to drive, but it doesn't have big brakes. It doesn't have a suspension necessarily tuned for the track. It's a great commuter. It's efficient, but this kind of walks this incredible line between SI and Type R, where you get the 200 horsepower and you get the lovely torque that we see in Civic Hybrid. I love that powertrain, and now it's in this. And the only reason you're going to want more power in this is because it has the suspension to back it up, and it has the brakes to back it up. I don't feel concerned about overheating brakes in this car, and I'm like grazing them right now. This car is over braked, and that's the hallmark of a great performance thing. That tells you they care. This was designed by people who like cars. Look at this. Look at the turn in on that. You can correct mid-corner. I'm underestimating the front grip of this car. Sweaty palms. This brake pedal has stayed firm and confidence inspiring the entire time down this hill. Can't say the same for the Pilot I drove yesterday. That was getting a little warm. Just so balanced and happy. I know there's people who just can't fathom a front-wheel drive car as a performance thing, and they're just wrong. They're just wrong. It doesn't mean that it's better than a rear-wheel drive car, but you cannot drive this and tell me that this is not an engaging, dynamically fun and connected experience. This is just fantastic. Like, I know cars are good, and I'm pulling, a solid G when my earbuds, my microphones are starting to fall out of my ears That's a good sign. The steering's great. It's a little bit light, like it's not challenging me from an effort perspective, but I know what's going on up front. You can trail brake into a corner. Go slow here in case, okay. You never know if a motorcycle or car is going to be pulling into one of those turnoffs. Something that has to be talked about is the forward visibility in this car. It's not quite an NSX the way the nose drops, but it is significant in the sense that I feel like I can see the road directly in front of me, and I still get the little humps on both sides to tell me where my wheels are, so I can go apex to apex, and I know where I'm placing a tire. And the suspension, man, this is just exactly what you want out of your Grand Touring sporty thing. It loads up, it feels compliant enough over the bumps so it's not skipping over anything, but it's keeping me really stable. I just think it can't be overstated how charming and plucky and fun this thing is to drive. Could it use 100 horsepower? Sure. Can you get it in the aftermarket? No. You know, you're not going to be able to really tune these hybrids in the way that you would put like a Jackson Racing supercharger on something. But this isn't the 90s, man. Can also report that the Prelude is a proper GT car. It feels so comfortable and at home, just crunching miles. In comfort mode, it's nice and soft. You get a bit of body roll and a lot more than you would get in say, a Type R, but it feels more controlled than the SI. You can go into GT mode, firms it up a little bit more. So you can leave it there if you'd like it to be. But honestly, I always love just kind of going into the softest settings of these cars. They feel really good. It kind of like undulates out of a bump and just disguises all of the imperfections. It filters it out. Road noise has always been the Achilles heel for Honda. They typically are kind of loud, and this is no different. I wouldn't say loud, but you're definitely aware of the road. It's not gonna be so insulated that you're feeling like you're in some luxury car, but that's actually kind of nice because I don't want to be in a luxury car. I want to be in a lovely sports coupe that feels a little bit elevated, but not necessarily Acura, okay? And that's fine. I'm not bothered by the road noise in this car, and it's probably, you know, about what my Type R is. We'd have to put a decibel test on it to really figure out how correct I am about that, but I guess I'm used to it. This engine, most of the time, you almost never hear. It's very quiet behind the scenes. So unless you get into it, you don't hear it that much. And it's not a terrible sounding engine. It's not the most exciting 4-cylinder we've ever seen from Honda, that's for sure, but we didn't expect it to be. I wanted to explore this car's limits on a tight, windy mountain and canyon road, and we've done that. Now I understand that it really is, it deserves a sports car name because it is sporty. It does things that normal cars don't do and normal cars aren't designed to do. Where it falls short is in the power department because it's just never gonna really wow you light to light. But I do like this powertrain. It's something that I really value about Honda is this particular hybrid system. It's good to drive. So why is it that taking that good to drive hybrid system and putting it in a Prelude is a negative or maybe not worth the money? That's where I think you really need to drive this car to understand what it is. And if you're someone who likes carving corners and really enjoys pushing a car to its limits, and a car wants you to do it, this car begs you to do it, then I think you're going to enjoy it. But if you're someone who's really just a power hungry kind of person and you need that juice and you want to tune your thing, then yeah, then you're gonna have to look elsewhere, and you're probably gonna have to spend some money. I find these seats to be really nice and supportive. It's interesting that they are not power. It's interesting that they are all manual, and I'm okay with that. I don't mind a manual seat. I don't know, for some reason I expected this to have power seats. And I would love to have an adjustable lumbar support on here, but then again, that's not something you get in even a Type R, so not surprising. But again, I just thought maybe, just maybe, there'd be a little more adjustability or some power options on there. The visibility is pretty good. We talked about how lovely the forward visibility is. Big side windows, not too high on the doors. Just back there, that rear quarter glass, I had to move this seat forward a little bit just so I could get a glimpse of it. But yeah, it's enough that you're gonna have to look over your shoulder and you'll be able to see if there's a car there. Maybe I would like a little more there, but I feel no sense of claustrophobia in the new Prelude. Check out this, we got a guy in this Prelude. 5th gen, wild. Not an SH, but still cool. So that's gonna do it for my first impressions drive of the all-new Honda Prelude. And if you take anything away from this video, it's let the haters hate. They're gonna complain no matter what. But what I discovered today about this car is that it handles really well, that it is fun to drive, that it would make a phenomenal daily driver, and you're gonna have to assign your own critiques to it, because if you need 600 horsepower, this is not the car for you. If you don't want a hybrid, this is not the car for you. But if you're looking for what seems to be a very well-rounded daily driver package that has the sports chops and the canyons, this is pretty darn good. And after all I've done today, I'm still getting 32 miles per gallon. If I was being kind to it and we were on a normal daily commute, we'd be probably over 40. So it's a bit of a fuel sipper as well. I was certainly a skeptic, especially because of this button right here, this S+, a simulated transmission. Nothing could sound less appealing to me, except that they figured it out. Like, they've integrated every feature in this car in a way that feels natural and normal and actually does aid the driving experience, rather than just provide something to toss it to the people who would complain without it. It's fascinating. I like that there's dual functionality on these paddles, that they didn't just solely make it for that fake transmission. They also allowed it to do its thing as a regenerative braking thing that we've seen in the Civic hybrids. I just think that they figured this car out in a way that people don't quite understand, and maybe they won't. Maybe this car will not sell the way it's supposed to. Maybe people won't drive it enough to recognize what it is. But what I can tell you is that it's very exciting to chuck into a corner. It's very fun to put it into an on-ramp. It's very fun to exit a corner a little early on throttle and find your way out. Is it the fastest thing in the world? No, but it's going to give you a dynamic experience that an enthusiast will enjoy. And if you're the type of enthusiast who needs to have a 6-speed manual, this one's already off the table for you. Don't worry about it. Go to the next one. But if you're somebody who's like, you know what, let's just see what that is. Maybe this will be the well-rounded daily driver in my life that can still go on the weekend trips with my buddies who have all their hot boy sports cars. This can keep up, because as long as there's not so much straight road that they run away from you with 400 or 500 horsepower, this is going to do some serious damage on a stock 235 section tire in a corner, and it's just gonna work. So I'm finishing this video along the Pacific Coast because it's an EV mode. I don't feel like I'm wasting any fuel. We're just cruising. I don't have to be anywhere. I'm gonna go actually drive more vintage Preludes. But I gotta say, I'm glad I did not take into consideration many of the articles that have been written about this car prior to its launch. Nobody has driven this car and written about its driving impressions. Everybody has simply just complained about its price, or that it doesn't have a 6-speed, or that it only has 200 horsepower. And those are all valid concerns. However, Honda has a way of always taking non-superlative entities and bringing it into a package that exceeds expectations. So there you go. Let's roll down the window, enjoy the sound of the ocean and binaural audio. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive. And if you're curious about this car, go find one, go drive one, go thrash one, and see what you think, because the handling dynamics of my Civic Type R are why I bought that car. It's not because it's fast in a straight line, because I go to racetracks with it, and I'll tell you, it's not fast in a straight line. This car, not fast in a straight line. Adequate, yes, but it's gonna return great fuel economy and lots of smiles. You're just gonna enjoy yourself. Anyway, don't forget to respect the drive. I'll see you in the next one. Let's take a closer look at this interior, because I was very excited to show you the driving dynamics, and I really just wanted to go out and cane around some canyon mountain roads, and it's really fun, but you should see what this has to offer. So unlike its Civic and CR-V brethren, it doesn't have any sort of normal shifter. You've got the NSX style shifter down here. So drive, neutral, park. The Pilot has this as well, but to me, that's the NSX style shifter. The S Plus button, this is what gives you your paddle shifters, okay? That's what's gonna turn this into an 8-speed transmission, which it's not. But when you don't have that S Plus button pushed, this goes into regen mode. So you have 7 stages that you can use on the downshift paddle and reduce that regen on the upshift paddle. Very simple, very familiar. You also have drive modes down here. So we can select between comfort mode, GT mode, sport mode, and individual mode. And when you have it in individual mode, that's where you can start adjusting things. So you can have your powertrain, your steering, your suspension, engine sound, your cruise control system, and your gauge cluster. So there's different setups. If you want it in comfort, maybe you don't like the red that comes with the sport mode. Maybe it's aggressive to you. Maybe you want your powertrain to be in a certain thing. So you can adjust that. Now, the other thing, which is nice, let's say I'm in comfort mode and I've adjusted my individual mode to what I want. I can hold, we'll put this in drive. I can press and hold Sport Plus and it goes to individual mode if I press and hold that for 2 seconds. So that's kind of nice. I dig that. Otherwise, let's take a look. Is there any Easter eggs? There's usually some Easter eggs in the Civics. Let's see if that's the case under here. Yes, there we go. The original Prelude. The Civic history goes on. No, it's a Civic. It appears to be a Civic, not a Prelude. Okay, well, they left the Civic in there at least. That's cool. These seats are heated, but they are not power. They are manual adjustments. But Honda is good at ergonomics, so I love that their brightness is just simply on a scrolly wheel. I don't have to go through some sub-menu to adjust that. I don't have to do anything fancy to adjust my HVAC controls. I've got all the buttons and knobs that I like and I prefer, and he likes it, he's into it. Now we've also got room for your sunnies, which I love because I don't have room for my sunnies in my Civic Type R. So that is pretty rad. Now the steering wheel, they said it's extra thick, which usually I don't like. When BMW does this, they go too far. This is still really nice in the hand. They've got the blue embroidery and you've got your 12 o'clock eye here, which is nice. It's not yellow, it's actually black and suede and it's kind of neat. And it's a flat bottom wheel. This plastic, ooh, I don't know if I love that, but I almost never interact with it, so it's fine, not a big deal. No sunroof, which, you know, it makes sense given the size and situation of this roof because it's not, there'd be nowhere to put it. But the Prelude historically did have a power moonroof. The rear seats, very tight. Not going to do you any favors back there if you've got lots of friends, but treat it as a 2-seater with a bunch of storage space.